Welcome to Story Spectrum. Look down at what you're wearing right now. The shirt on your back, the pants on your legs, the socks on your feet. Have you ever wondered how they were made? Today, we take for granted the intricate stitches holding our world together. But just a couple of centuries ago, every single one of those stitches had to be done by hand. It was a slow, painstaking process that consumed countless hours. Then, a machine arrived that would forever change the fabric of our lives, sparking revolutions in industry, fashion, and society itself. This is the story of the sewing machine. Our journey begins in the late 18th century. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing, and inventors were dreaming of ways to mechanize everything, including sewing. In 1790, an Englishman named Thomas Saint patented a design for a machine that could stitch leather. It had an awl to punch a hole and a needle that would pass thread through it. It sounds promising, right? But here's the catch. Saint never actually built a working model. His designs were complex, and when a prototype was finally built from his drawings in the 1870s, it needed major modifications to even work. So the first idea was there, but the execution wasn't. Over the next few decades, many others tried their luck. In France, Barthélemy Thémanier had a breakthrough. In 1830, he patented a machine that used a hooked needle to create a chain stitch. Unlike Saint, Thémanier actually built his invention and put it to work. He opened a factory with 80 of his machines to produce uniforms for the French army. This should have been his moment of triumph. But a mob of angry tailors, terrified that these new machines would put them out of work, stormed his factory and destroyed every single one. Thémanier barely escaped with his life. It was a harsh reminder that progress often faces fierce resistance. The story then crosses the Atlantic to America, where the real sewing machine revolution was about to ignite. In the 1840s, a struggling inventor in Boston named Elias Howe was obsessed with creating a practical sewing machine. Legend has it, the key breakthrough came to him in a nightmare. He dreamed he was captured by a tribe whose king ordered him to invent a sewing machine or face death. In the dream, he saw warriors carrying spears with holes in their tips. When he woke up, he realized the solution. Move the eye of the needle from the top to the point. This, combined with a shuttle to create a lock stitch, the same strong stitch we use today, was the magic formula. In 1846, Howe patented his invention, but his struggles were far from over. He couldn't find any buyers in America and went to England to try his luck, only to face more hardship. While Howe was in Europe, other American inventors jumped into the fray. The sewing machine landscape became a wild west of patents and lawsuits. The most notable figure to emerge was a man whose name is now synonymous with sewing, Isaac Merritt Singer. Singer wasn't a tailor or an engineer. He was an actor and a brilliant, if ruthless, marketer. He saw a clumsy early sewing machine and famously boasted he could build a better one. And he did. In just 11 days, he developed a machine that was far more practical. It had a straight needle that moved up and down, a presser foot to hold the fabric in place, and a treadle for foot power, freeing up both hands. Singer's design was a game-changer for usability, but here's where it gets messy. Singer's machine used the lock-stitch mechanism that Elias Howe had patented. Howe returned from England, broke, only to find people like Singer making fortunes off his idea. He sued, and what followed was one of the first and biggest patent battles in American history, dubbed the Sewing Machine War. After years of legal fighting, the court ruled in Howe's favor. Singer and other manufacturers had to pay Howe royalties for every machine they sold. Eventually, the major players, including Singer, Howe, and Wheeler and Wilson, decided to stop fighting and start cooperating. They formed the first-ever patent pool, a trust that combined their patents and licensed them to other manufacturers, creating a standardized and massively profitable industry. With the legal battles settled, the sewing machine was ready to conquer the world, and Isaac Singer was the man to lead the charge. He was a marketing genius. He offered the first-ever installment payment plans, allowing families who couldn't afford the high price upfront to buy a machine on time. This hire purchase model was revolutionary and made the sewing machine one of the first mass-marketed consumer appliances. Singer's company also pioneered global marketing, setting up factories and showrooms across the world, complete with sewing lessons and repair services. The sewing machine wasn't just sold as a tool. It was sold as a path to female empowerment, domestic bliss, and financial independence. The impact was staggering. For the home, it was a liberation. A shirt that once took 14 hours to sew by hand could now be finished in about an hour. It freed up women's time from endless mending and garment making. For industry, it supercharged the growth of ready-to-wear clothing. Factories filled with rows of sewing machines could churn out standardized garments at an incredible pace. This made clothing cheaper and more accessible to everyone, fundamentally changing how people dressed and perceived fashion. Of course, this also had a dark side. The demand for speed and low costs led to the rise of sweatshops where workers, often women and children, toiled for long hours in poor conditions for very little pay. The machine that offered liberation in the home could mean exploitation in the factory. As we moved into the 20th century, the sewing machine continued to evolve. Electric motors replaced the foot treadle in the 1920s, making sewing faster and less physically demanding. New features were added, like the ability to create zigzag stitches, buttonholes, and even complex embroidery patterns. The machines themselves became sleeker, lighter, and more portable. They transitioned from heavy cast-iron workhorses to sophisticated electronic and computerized devices. After World War II, Japanese manufacturers entered the market, introducing innovative and affordable models that further democratized sewing. Companies like Brother and Janome became household names alongside Singer. Today, the legacy of that simple, revolutionary idea is everywhere. At the industrial level, highly specialized, computer-controlled sewing machines operate at blinding speeds, producing the vast majority of the clothes we buy. They can cut, sew, and finish garments with minimal human intervention. But the domestic sewing machine is far from obsolete. In fact, it's experiencing a renaissance. The rise of DIY culture, crafting communities on social media, and a growing interest in sustainable fashion have inspired a new generation to pick up sewing. People are using modern machines to repair old clothes, create unique custom outfits, and express their creativity. From hobbyists and cosplayers to small-scale designers selling their creations online, the sewing machine remains a powerful tool for personal expression and entrepreneurship. So the next time you put on a jacket or notice the seam on your jeans, take a moment to appreciate the incredible journey of the sewing machine. It's a story of ingenuity and legal battles, of industrial might and domestic liberation, of exploited workers and empowered creators. It's a machine that stitched together the modern world, one lock stitch at a time, and continues to weave new stories in the hands of creative people everywhere. From a dreamer's nightmare to the digital powerhouse in a modern craft room, its thread runs through all of our lives. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you in another story.